In today's video, I'm going to show you how to do this with a biscuit joiner. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Jason with Bent's Woodworking. This week, I want to share a tip that I picked up on adding splines to mitered corners with a biscuit joiner. There's multiple different ways that you can make splines for your miters. This is just a cool technique, and I think that for the most part, quite a few people have biscuit joiners. It's readily available, and you don't got to set up any crazy jig on your table saw or anything like that. So today I'm going to show you just how easy it is and how quick it can be, and also how cool it can make your miters look. As with any of my instructional videos, to start off, I'm going to go ahead and show you the different items that I'll be using in this video. And of course, as always, I will leave affiliate links in the description down below if you want to find out more information about these products and or purchase these products. So if you're wondering what something is, hit the description and you'll be able to find it there. The first thing, I'm doing this on my mobile MFT cart. It's just easy, and the clamping system and everything is just going to work really good for this application. I've got my mitered corner. This is just for demonstration purposes. It is just two pieces that I cut 45, put them together 90 degrees. I'll be using some of these bench dogs from Seneca Woodworking. I've got my two pieces of walnut that I'm going to use for the splines themselves. I'll be using a couple of these cool quick release clamps that work really well with an MFT table or any table that has bench dogs. I'll be using some glue, obviously, for the splines. I'll also be using one of these flush cut saws to saw off the excess material for the spline. I will be using a biscuit joiner to cut the slots. For the remainder of the video, you'll probably be in for a much closer look. So I'm going to go ahead and start off. As I mentioned before, these are Seneca bench dogs, and they fit in these dog holes perfectly. And so the reason I put these like this is because I like to take whatever my corner is, and I like to place it up against it, just so I have a reference and I know it's going to stay steady. Now, granted, I am going to go ahead and insert these clamps and use these clamps for this process. However, I know that it's going to stay even more steady and it won't rock backwards as I push into it because I have the bench dogs behind it. Got my second clamp, and now it's nice and sturdy and it's not going anywhere. My biscuit joiner is already set up. I've got the height for the top spline. I'm going to do two splines, one on the top and one roughly on the bottom, and it'll roughly be even spacing. Again, this is just for a demonstration. I'm going to cut the first one, I'm going to unclamp it, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut the other one so it's the same distance from each end. And then on the back here, I'm going to set my biscuits to the size 10. And the reason I'm setting it to the size 10 is because I don't want to risk the blade coming too far through and going through this material, and this material is 3/4 of an inch thick, so keep that in mind when you're cutting your splines. So the next step obviously is to go ahead and cut. Now you do have a marker on most biscuit joiners that shows you the center, and what you can do is get right on that corner, and then you also have a notch up here in the top, and since your miter has a line, you can kind of use that to line up just to make sure that you're dead on straight. And obviously that will help balance out the spline on each side in terms of how much is actually revealed on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and make the first cut. As you can see there, I've got my first one done. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. I'm going to make another cut. And so now I'll have two splines, and then we'll go ahead and put the splines in. I've gone ahead and moved my piece out to the corner just so I have a little bit more space to work, especially when sawing. These shims themselves are 1/8 of an inch, and they are slightly larger than I would normally use, but for the demonstration of the video I wanted to have something a little bit larger so it's easier to visualize. I'm going to go ahead and apply some glue into my slot, and I'm only going to do one of these at a time. I'm also not putting in a ton of glue, and I'm going to start with the bottom just so I have some space to make my cut. And then I'm just going to tap it in. I want it to fit nice and snug, which they do. Once I've got it tapped in to where the backs are touching, I can then take my saw and I can cut away the excess I did get some marks right here from the flush saw. It's actually better if you stay a little bit away from it, or else this will happen if the blade starts to turn, but it's not a concern for me because it will come out when I sand. Now that I got my first one done, I'll go ahead and put my top one in. Just insert a little bit of glue, place my spline in the slot, and get it started. Once I've got it tapped in, this one I'm cutting just slightly off, just to avoid making any more cuts in the miter itself. And then you'll see how quickly it comes out when you sand it. So now this one is sticking out just a little bit, but when I go ahead and sand it down, it's going to come out just fine. I'm going to prop it up on the edge of my assembly table. Just like that, you have a nice splined, mitered corner. And so you could really do as many as you would want. It's fairly simple. It came out very smooth, very clean. Just a couple little things that would require touch-up in the finishing process, like some little hairline cracks here on the miter. But other than that, turned out really good. It's super easy, and it makes your project look really, really cool. I would always encourage people to try new things. As you can see from this video, and once you try it for yourself, it's super easy to do, does not take a long time, and you'll have more things that you can offer a client and more things that you can do to make yourself stand apart from everyone else. I really appreciate everybody taking the time to watch. And again, if you're not following me over on Instagram, go over there, give me a follow at Woodworking, and check out what I'm doing on a daily basis. Look forward to the next video. I'll see you then.